Hi YouTube, welcome back to another video from Wtf Rc Cars. So this one's for the G11P and it's the R7V gyro receiver. Now this is an enhanced receiver, so it will work with the BVD, so you can check your external battery or the battery that you're powering the RC off as well. But this video I'm just going to concentrate on the full stability control settings that this has. So not only do you have a gyro for the steering, you can also have it cutting in on the throttle. You can change all the priority of whether you want the gyro to have priority, as in it'll stop the RC spinning, or whether it'll let you have priority, so your input sort of tells the RC to go and the gyro input is secondary. But I'll try my best to cover all this and explain what these settings do. So let's bring in for a close-up look and see how we get on with this one. So purely in the interest of keeping this simple, this has got a ESC with 2 auxiliary leads. I'm not going to cover that in this one. I'm just going to try and get the gyro side covered because there's quite a lot to it. So basically this is the FS R7V. You've got a bind button. You've got the top port, which is the VCC or BVD connector. The second one down is a bind, so you can, if you break the button, you can use the second row down as a bind. But this one's fully working, so we don't need to do that. And then you've got your servo and your ESC, so they are labelled on the side. Channel 1 is at the bottom, your sense pin is on the inside. It does have a legend on the side telling you that. So we've got the top set of connections. So this is for the servo, channel 6 and 7 and the sensors. So this will be your iBus connectors. We're not going to cover that one in this one because it's going to get complicated enough to start with. So first off, we want a servo, and that's going to go into channel 1, and you're going to want your sense pin to the inside. Then we're going to get our ESC into channel 2, and we're going to mount this. Now you want to mount this pretty securely. You don't want it flopping about because it's a gyro receiver and it will affect the gyro. If the receiver is bouncing around all over, then your gyro's not going to behave how you want it to, and you're going to end up with your RC all over the place. So let's just get the antenna out of the way. So that's his basic setup. Gyro stuck down really firmly to the chassis. Steering in channel 1, and then your ESC in channel 2. Then we're going to connect our ESC. We're going to press and hold his bind button, and we're going to power up, and we should get a flashing light. Right, let's see if I can focus on the transmitter for you. So we're going to want to go onto his transmitter. We're going to want to go to a new model. So let's just reset this one, so it's a blank model. So we can go into name. So we'll set that, then we can back out, and we can see it's named it. So we've got it selected. Then we're going to go to his RX bind. Can go into your failsafe, leave it to not set or no output. Then we want to go into his bind set. So we've got routine or fast. If we leave it on routine, we want two-way, RX type standard because it's not an ESC, PWM and iBus, set to digital servo because you're going to be using a quick servo if you're using a gyro, and then start bind.
Binding successful.
Then you'll see it's bound up. If we look in iBus settings, we can set iBus to whatever channel we want. And then if we back out, we can now go into, in fact, what I'll do first. So the steering needs reversing. So we're definitely going to have to get that done. And let's see if there's throttle. Throttle's going right way. So first off, into here and reverse the steering. We want that turning right way. Then, so we don't get damage in anything, we're going to want to jump in and set as endpoints. So that definitely wants to come down. So we can set one. We just don't want a servo stressing. So once we've got them done, you can set your sub trim. That'll correct your left and right, but for this it's pretty centered anyway. So next thing we're going to want to do is go down to SVC. So this is a stability control. You want to go into the median calibration. So we go into this. Make sure your throttle and your steering is centered. That'll calibrate the gyroscope. So make sure the vehicle's not moving and it's level. That now gives us gyro a base setting to come from. So we want to turn as gyro on. Now if we move the RC, you can see it's steering. If we want to increase that, so let's make sure we're at least in focus. So we've got a steering and it is turning into the skid. So if we want to increase the sensitivity, we can turn this up. Bearing in mind this won't take effect while it's flashing. You have to press the button to set it. And then as you see, we're getting more travel on the steering for the input. So if we want to reverse it, because it's turning it wrong way, we can go in here and reverse it. And now you can see it's turning out of the skid, which that's going to be wrong for this RC. All depends on which way round your servo is. So we've also got throttle gain. So at the minute it's not affecting the throttle. If we want it to control throttle, I'll just go to an extreme. You can see it cuts the throttle as it goes into a skid, and you can change that to whatever suits your RC, or if you don't want it doing throttle, you can have it all the way off. Priority, this is one where you use it to change the priority between your input and the RC itself. So if you have it on 100, it's going to benefit your input or prioritize your input. You see, as soon as I start steering, if it's in middle and I'm not steering, the gyro's got full control, but as I start steering, my control is taking over. Now what this is good for, if you're turning on your gyro and you're finding you've got really wide corners and you can't turn tight, you can basically take some of the priority off the gyro and put it more on you. And as you see, the further I turn now, if I just turn a bit, the gyro's still got quite a lot of input. It's only when I turn really far that it takes over. And the further down you have this, the more control it will give the gyro all the time. So I can turn quite far now and it's still giving the gyro priority. So basically this gives priority to you the higher it is, and where you'll use this is the more the tighter you want the RC to turn, the more you have to prioritize U, but then the less likely the gyro will be to stop the vehicle spinning. They're the main functions. The ESP mode is basically, it's like heading lock on a gyro, if that makes any sense to you. It'll prioritize the direction it's traveling or not letting the RC spin. So you just need to play around with that and decide which one is the one for you, basically. But yeah, that's all the basic gyro settings, and you can turn it on and off in here. Just remember, these settings don't apply until you press the button to lock them in. Now, that's all well and good, but you may not want to be on that screen all the time. So we can go into assignment. If we go on to one of the K features, we can go in here and we can work our way down. So if we set SVC to K1 and then come back out, basically at a push of a button, this will let you turn your SVC on and off. So that's useful to have. If we come back in and we go to one of the switches, we should have the same function on here for SVC. So yeah, you can set the SVC to a switch, and you could have it so pressing switch turns it on and off rather than a button. If we come out of here and we go to our trims, so we can go in and say TR3, this front one. So we can go into here, and then if we go down, there's a whole load of settings on this. So when you get to these, so you can set steering gain, throttle gain, priority to this. So on this front trim, if we want priority, and then you can set the direction. So if we change this direction to reversed, when we press back, it'll increase, forward will decrease. If we change it to normal, forward increases, backwards decreases. And then you can also change the step. So if you wanted it to go in big steps, you can. Or if you want it really sensitive, you can have it in 1 step increments. So then you can turn your SVC on and off. We can control priority. If we go still on as TRs, so if we jump to TR2, which I believe is the back one, we can go in here and we can drop down, and we could have this as a steering gain if we wanted, and again change it to 2, down to, change it down to 1, and then back out. And then if we go to his SVC menu, you can see this will now control your gain. This one will now control your priority. And you can mess around with these and change them about all you like, so they're in a place that's convenient for you. And also if we go on variables, so VR1 I believe is this front one. So if we come in here, we could have this as throttle gain. So if we then back out, go into his SVC, and we can control every aspect of the actual gyro, all just from this one dial. So now we can control every aspect of what we'd need to change on his gyro. So we've got throttle gain, we've got a trim that can do as priority, we've got a trim that can do a steering gain, and we can enable and disable it all from buttons. So you do not need to have anything on. You can see if you press it and it's off, it'll say SVC closed. On will say SVC open. So we've got that. It's a nice touch. and then we can change all our priorities and everything else that we've got set. So a really nice way of controlling the full stability control of the vehicle. And yeah, that's how you calibrate it. Make sure you calibrate it first. Make sure you've set your sub trims and everything so your RC's at least going in a straight line. Set your endpoints so you know the gyro's not going to try and oversteer and break your servo. And then set whatever function you like to whatever button and dial suits your use. But hopefully that's easy enough to follow and makes sense. But yeah, let's wrap this one up. So there you have it, the G11P and the FS R7V gyro receiver. We can configure it, we can set it up, we can set controls to whatever buttons, and then just as a push of a button, we have no gyro or full gyro. But hopefully that makes sense and it's easy enough to follow. But yeah, thanks again for watching WTF Rc Cars. Don't forget to like and subscribe, hit the notification bell, share to friends and family, and catch you guys again in the next one.